Welcome to the Defense Supply Center, Columbus, for the change of command, followed by the retirement ceremony honoring Rear Admiral John T. Palmer. My name is Captain Chris Waldron, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies. Today you will witness the change of command as Rear Admiral John T. Palmer is relieved as Commander, DLA Land and Maritime by Rear Admiral Kristen B. Fabry, immediately followed by the retirement of Rear Admiral Palmer. During the ceremony, you will have the opportunity to observe the naval custom of piping aboard and ashore. Members of the official party will enter and exit between two rows of military personnel called side boys. The number of side boys distinguishes the rank of the officer. The custom is further explained in your program. Military guests are reminded that this is considered an indoor ceremony. No covers are required and no salutes will be rendered. Today's ceremony will begin with the arrival of the official party, the rendering of honors, the national anthem, and the invocation. Please rise and remain standing for the arrival of the official party, the national anthem, and the invocation. Side boys, post. Rear Admiral, United States Navy, arriving. DLA Land and Maritime, arriving. Side boys, post. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in rendering honors with the national anthem. It is my pleasure to introduce Miss Mary Moore, who will now deliver the invocation.
I am of the Christian faith. I ask each of you to pray according to your faith and understanding. In bow hands. Thank you, Father, for this day that you have given us and for the occasion that brings us together, the DLA Land and Maritime Change of Command ceremony. Thank you, Rear Admiral Palmer, for his committed and faithful service as the commander of DLA Land and Maritime. Thank you for the positive impact he has had on this command, served with both honor and integrity. We are grateful to have served with him, and he will be missed dearly. We ask your continued blessings on Rear Admiral Palmer and his family as they start this new journey. We ask for good health, prosperity, and happiness. Today, we also lift to you our new leader, Rear Admiral Fabry. I ask that you give her the wisdom, guidance, and integrity needed to command the mighty Land and Maritime. Lord, I thank you in advance for your continued blessings to this command and the warfighter we serve. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, I'd like to extend a special welcome to the families of Rear Admiral Palmer and Rear Admiral Fabry. Joining us from Rear Admiral Palmer's family is his wife, Brooks, his son, John Palmer, Jr., brother and sister-in-law, Colonel U.S. Army retired Samuel Palmer, and his wife, Miss Claire Palmer, and family friend, Mr. James Bird. Joining us from Rear Admiral Fabry's family is husband, Tim, daughters Avery and Ellery, and son Soren. I'd also like to welcome from DLA Land and Maritime, Mr. Kenneth Watson, Deputy Commander, Mr. Mark Brown, Acquisition Executive, Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Payne, Chief of Staff, and Mr. Griff Warren, Director of Operations. Please give a round of applause for all our distinguished guests and visitors. A change command provides an opportunity for reflection upon the many accomplishments of the outgoing commander. Admiral Palmer assumed command of DLA Maritime June 20th, 2018, and during his 25 months at the helm has provided stellar leadership as he vectored our collective efforts toward the most pressing needs of the military services and the combatant commands. Due to the current travel restrictions, we do not have a traditional presiding officer for today's ceremonies. However, Mr. Michael Scott, Acting Director, Defense Logistics Agency, has recorded a message for the occasion that we will now show.
Good morning, DLA Land and Maritime and Defense Supply Center, Columbus. I certainly wish I could be with you there deep in the heart of Buckeye Country. As an alumnus of Ohio State, believe me, I'm with you in spirit. Go Bucks! I want to start with a shout out to the incredible land and maritime workforce. Your hard work, dedication, and commitment have immeasurably contributed to the success of this agency, the entire Department of Defense, and many sections of federal government. Thank you for all you do. It is indeed my honor to preside over today's ceremony. What a great day it is for the United States Navy, for DLA, and for these two great military families as we transition command of this dynamic organization from Rear Admiral John Palmer to Rear Admiral Kristen Fabry. In addition, we'll celebrate the achievements of Rear Admiral Palmer during his command here and over his entire Navy career as he retires after 32 years of active military service. Distinguished guests, general and flag officers, members of the senior executive service, industry partners, community leaders, DLA team members. To family, friends, colleagues, and to everyone attending today's ceremony or watching online, your presence pays tribute to these great officers and their dedicated and faithful service to our nation. I'd like to introduce some family members, starting with John's supportive wife of 31 years, Brooks Palmer. Besides raising their two kids, she's pursued a career of her own as a registered nurse wherever John was stationed. How about a round of applause for Brooks? The Palmers have two grown children watching online, daughter Elizabeth and son John, as well as 4 grandchildren, 4-year-old Graham, 2-year-old Madison, 1-year-old Evie B. and a newborn, Maggie Lou. Joining us from Rear Admiral Fabry's family is her husband of nearly 17 years, Tim Von Ness, a former Navy Supply Corps officer. They have 3 children, daughters Avery, 14, and Ellery, 6, and son Soren, 12. How about a round of applause for Tim and the Fabry family? I'm sure John and Kristen would tell you they would not be here today were it not for the support of their families. To Brooks, Tim, and all the family members, thank you for the sacrifices you've made over the course of their Navy careers. In an era of increasing threats and shrinking budgets, the Department of Defense has relied on Land and Maritime more than ever to keep our service members well equipped and in the fight. Such crucial support could only be accomplished by a great workforce commanded by a great leader like Rear Admiral Palmer. I'd like to highlight some of Land and Maritime's accomplishments under John's leadership, beginning with some metrics by which we judge our overall success. Land and Maritime's material availability improved by 3.97%. for an all-time high of 90.86%. Additionally, Land and Maritime reduced its back orders by 20%. These phenomenal improvements tie directly to DLA's contribution to the military readiness of our troops. John guided the award of one of DLA's most critical contracts, the $2.1 billion Global Tires Program Performance-Based Logistics. It's the largest contract in DLA Land and Maritime history and provides worldwide customer direct support for tires to all U.S. military and foreign military sales customers. He delivered $6.7 million in cost savings on a 9-year, $22 million performance-based logistics effort with Robins Air Force Base on 3 aging legacy system platforms. He also played a key role in the development of the DLA Raytheon corporate contract, which grew to $8 billion. He was key to reducing Land and Maritime's depot-level reparable detachments work in progress by 5,900 purchase requests, which is a 79% reduction. He also reduced composite lead times to 105 days and increased on-time delivery to over 93%. These were unprecedented improvements in these key mission areas. He oversaw the award and execution of $800 million in cables and connectors contracts covering 150,000 hard-to-source national stock numbers. Land and Maritime achieved 95% stock-on-hand inventory 2 months prior to the start of shipyard maintenance periods for 24 availabilities. He was instrumental in resolving over 2,000 Army readiness driver items that were in non-mission capable status. Again, these are remarkable results that John and the team delivered. Of course, a list of his accomplishments doesn't tell the whole story. Over the course of the past 2 years as commander, John has established himself as a strong and fair-minded leader who truly cares about the people under his command. He has been a living example of the Land and Maritime way that champions teamwork, diversity, mutual trust, and respect. Ladies and gentlemen, John came to us 2 years ago already understanding the organizational dynamics of the agency. He knew who we served, and he's excelled in all of the challenges put before him. I will go out on a limb and say that in my 34-plus years at DLA, with 14 of those years at Land and Maritime, Rear Admiral John Palmer is among the very best MSC commanders I've ever known. That's not surprising if you look back on his phenomenal career. He served at sea aboard the amphibious assault ship USS Guam during Desert Shield, Desert Storm, aboard the guided missile frigate USS Boone, and aboard 2 carriers, the USS George Washington during Operation Enduring Freedom and USS Harry S. Truman during the response to Hurricane Katrina. He's been Supply Corps from the start and has served in command 4 times, 3 of those tours with DLA. He was also Director of Logistics, Fleet Supply and Ordnance for the U.S. Pacific Fleet in Hawaii, and Director of Supply Corps Personnel at the Navy Personnel Command in Millington, Tennessee. John, I want to congratulate you on a brilliant Navy career. You have built an outstanding record of achievement spanning over 3 decades. If I may borrow a phrase from the Navy Supply Corps, you always ensured that the Navy and DLA were ready for sea. Behind every successful career is a strong support system, and in John's case, that's his family. Brooks, you endured 18 moves over the course of John's career, and you're about to go through one more. Elizabeth and John, you went through many moves and separations as well. On behalf of DLA and the U.S. Navy, for all of your sacrifices in support of John's career, thank you for your service. John, it's been my honor and privilege to have served with you. Fair winds and following seas as you and Brooks head to Spartanburg, South Carolina to start a new chapter in your lives. DLA always ensures its field activities are commanded by the best, and in this case is no different. I would like to welcome the newest member of the Land and Maritime team, Rear Admiral Kristen Fabry. The Navy is in her blood. Her father retired as a Navy captain after a 34-year career. Growing up, she lived in 6 states, the Philippines, and Guam before graduating high school in Silverdale, Washington. She's a Naval Academy grad with advanced degrees from Harvard Business School and the Naval War College. In her nearly 30 years of service, she's deployed 5 times, accumulating 8 years of shipboard time on 4 different ships. She comes to us having served most recently as the Director, Logistics, Fleet and Supply Ordnance, N4, U.S. Pacific Fleet, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. She has a diverse logistics background, both in operational and shore positions, that distinguishes her as the best candidate to lead DLA Land and Maritime into the future. Kristen, you are a focused leader and a warfighter's logistician who will get the job done. I know you will ensure that our warfighters get the support they need whenever and wherever they need it. DLA could not have picked a better leader to take the reins. You're the right person, picked at the right time, and the DLA Land and Maritime team is excited to welcome you. To conclude, as world events unfold, we know our future is uncertain. Our country must remain on high alert with our troops and our nation prepared to respond to crisis situations anywhere on the globe at a moment's notice. It's comforting to know that you, the Land and Maritime team, continue to stand in the gap for our servicemen and women deployed in harm's way. Thank you again for attending today's ceremony. May God bless DLA Land and Maritime. May He bless our military service members and families, and may He continue to bless the United States of America. Warfighter first, go Land and Maritime.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the front Mr. Kenneth Watson, Deputy Commander, DLA Land and Maritime, to present today's awards on behalf of our virtual host. Rear Admiral Palmer, please join him in front of the podium. For his efforts, Admiral Palmer has been awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Attention to award. Rear Admiral John T. Palmer, Supply Corps, United States Navy, distinguished himself by exceptionally superior service as Commander, Defense Logistics Agency, Land and Maritime, from July 2018 to June 2020. Rear Admiral Palmer's visionary leadership and unwavering warfighter focus enabled Land and Maritime's 2,500 associates to deliver a broad range of logistics capability in support of more than 2,000 weapon systems across the Department of Defense, dramatically improving force readiness and lethality and ensuring unparalleled support during multiple named operations. The driving force behind a multitude of material support initiatives, he established strategic relationships with key leaders, customers, and industry partners to drive key improvements efforts at Army, Navy, and Marine Corps industrial sites, engaged all stakeholders to establish an unprecedented level of material readiness, and adjusted repair part procurement strategies to improve material availability for the military's most critical systems. The distinctive accomplishments of Rear Admiral Palmer culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself, the United States Navy, and Department of Defense. Thank you, Mr. Watson. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Rear Admiral John T. Palmer, Commander, DLA Land and Maritime.
I will now read my orders. Chief of Naval Operations Orders 1270, detached July 2020 from duty as Commander, Defense Logistics Agency, Land and Maritime, relieved of all active duty effective 23/59/30 September 2020, signed Mike Gilday, Admiral, United States Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. Admiral Fabry, I'm ready to be relieved.
Chief of Naval Operations Order 0720, when directed by Reporting Senior, detach in June 2020 from Commander, U.S. Pacific Fleet, report no later than July 2020 for duty as Commander, Defense Logistics Agency, Land and Maritime. Signed, M.M. Gilday, Admiral, U.S. Navy, Chief of Naval Operations.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce the Commander of DLA Land and Maritime, Rear Admiral Kristen B. Fabry.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, DLA teammates, family, and friends. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful morning here in Columbus for DLA Land and Maritime's Change of Command ceremony. These are certainly different and challenging times, and the way we conduct today's change of command reflects the modifications military services across the globe have been incorporating to ensure personnel safety and respect the time-honored tradition of the transition of command. I thank you all, whether here in the audience today or watching this at a later date from afar. Your presence and your patience and support is much appreciated. I would especially like to thank Mr. Michael Scott, Acting Director for the Defense Logistics Agency, for officiating this special event. Thank you, sir, for the kind remarks and for setting the tone so perfectly for this ceremony. As many of you are keenly aware, an event of this magnitude is simply not possible without an A-team behind the scenes working for months at a time. Leading this team is Captain Dave Lockney. Where'd he go? He's around here somewhere. There he is, Captain Dave Lockney, and along with his able assistant, Commander Jeff Good, if you could stand up as I say your name. And basically, Jeff Good was doing the heavy lifting to make Dave look good. Captain Chris Waldron, our amazing Master of Ceremonies. The unstoppable protocol officer, Miss Terry Johnson in the back. Our distinguished team of side boys. The dynamic EA duo of Major C.J. Degnan and Major Jim Fink, who are around here somewhere, probably working behind the scenes. I lost him. The skillful audiovisual team for bringing Mr. Scott to Columbus here today for our events. And last but not least, to Miss Mary Moore for that beautiful invocation. A warm round of applause for this inspirational and truly talented team. To all Land and Maritime senior leadership, special guests, the Palmer family, my family, all our friends who are able to make it here with us today, your presence brings a very special honor to this ceremony. I would like to briefly call out, if I may, a few friends that have made the journey from afar. First off, Commander Michelle Simmons, who made the journey all the way from Suffolk, Virginia, a dear friend and a true inspiration. She was my academic director at the Navy Supply Corps School, and you deeply touched me with your presence here today. Dr. Kathy Sharon and Randy Bailey, all the way up from Kentucky, godparents to our youngest daughter, and Kathy is a childhood friend, which is very rare as a kid growing up in the Navy. And we kept in touch over all the moves, and that's quite challenging. And I might remind my kids, we did that all without social media and cell phones. Kathy's brother Mike and sweet daughter Adeline are here as well, locals from Ohio, and they gave us an absolutely warm, wonderful Ohio welcome when we stepped foot off the plane from Hawaii. Thank you so much. Also, a longtime friend of both Tim and mine, and past colleague at U.S. Pacific Fleet, Rear Admiral Select Patrick Hayden, all the way from Bexley, Ohio. Next, I would like to acknowledge my family, my wonderful husband, Tim, and our 3 children, Avery, Soren, and Ellery. Their support continues to energize me and remains the foundation for my ability to serve with both focus and dedication. So I have a few small tokens with some local influence for your tireless and enthusiastic support of our Navy journey. I also would like to take the time to thank my parents, Captain Retired Steve and Betty Fabry, who couldn't be here today, but they are certainly a sample of service and sacrifice, and I really appreciate their endless love and support. To all my family, friends, colleagues, and shipmates who reached out with kind words and couldn't be here because of the current travel restrictions, I thank you. To the Land and Maritime team, I know you recognize that this change of command ceremony is a little bit different perhaps than ones in the past. In planning this leadership transition, Rear Admiral Palmer and I agreed to fully embrace the Navy's traditional protocol. So I hope you're enjoying a little bit of the seagoing flair with sideboys, bullets, bosun pipe, and bells. And with that, I want to thank Admiral Palmer for his tremendous leadership and logistics acumen as he skillfully navigated land and maritime through the both challenges and triumphs during the past 2 years, and for his exceptional turnover and transition that he provided me. As many of you know, this is not just a change of command, but also a retirement. It's a true celebration of a long and distinguished career. And I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you, John, and Brooks, for your 32 years plus, because you had 4 more years at the Citadel, so we can go up to 36 if you want, in uniform, for your dedicated service and leadership and mentorship over the years, starting all the way back in Athens, Georgia, almost 3 decades ago, and continuing as our careers continue to cross paths around the globe. Most notably, I thank you for the last 2 impeccable turnovers here at DLA Land and Maritime and at U.S. Pacific Fleet. It seemed I have developed a very smart habit of following you around. You're not only a distinguished leader, a true professional, an esteemed naval officer, but also a role model, a mentor, and a friend. I'm very privileged to have known both of you and served with you. Together, you and Brooks make a tremendous team. From Brooks's warm hospitality, gracious demeanor, and her service, not only in supporting your career, but also being a dedicated and skilled nurse during this pandemic. Admiral Palmer and Brooks, in fine Navy tradition, I want to wish you both fair winds and following seas. And please take with you my personal thanks for all you've done for me and for my family, and our sincere admiration for all you've contributed to this great nation. DLA is well respected amongst the military services for its commitment to providing superior logistical support. And DLA Land and Maritime consistently distinguishes itself as a vital part of DLA's worldwide logistics operation. In addition to executing its military mission, DLA also champions the nation's humanitarian response activities, both at home and abroad. That stellar reputation is why I was thrilled to receive word that I was selected as your next DLA Land and Maritime Commander. As a fleet customer who's been on the receiving end of the critical support you provide, I now look forward to being a part and being engaged firsthand in the complexities driving DLA's logistics operations. I want you to know how motivated I am to be joining the Land and Maritime team as your new commander, and I guarantee my total commitment to furthering the legacy of this world-class organization. DLA's well-organized operations directly support our national defense, enabling our military to globally project readiness that keeps our adversaries at bay and America safe. Team, I know we have time to get better acquainted in the very near future, and I'm relishing the opportunity to pull up my sleeves and dig in and help Land and Maritime successfully solve the logistics challenges. Tackling them together, we'll make sure America's military services continue to receive the superior level of logistics support that they demand. I thank you in advance because I know I'm inheriting a true team of professionals here at DLA Land and Maritime. I'm honored and thrilled to be aboard. Warfighter first, let's get to it.
Thank you, Admiral Fabry. Mr. Watson, Rear Admiral Palmer, please move to the front of the podium. Mr. Watson will now present Rear Admiral Palmer with a certificate of retirement. Certificate of retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents greetings. This is to certify that Rear Admiral Lower Half John T. Palmer, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Navy on the first day of October 2020. Signed, M.M. Gilday, Admiral, United States Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. In addition, Rear Admiral Palmer is also being awarded a Defense Logistics Agency flag from the Director of Defense Logistics Agency, DLA Land and Maritime plaque, and presidential letters of appreciation from former Presidents George W. Bush and Jimmy Carter. Will Brooks Palmer please join Rear Admiral Palmer and Mr. Watson? Mrs. Palmer is being presented with the Defense Logistics Agency Certificate of Appreciation for sacrifices she has made during Rear Admiral Palmer's military career. Defense Logistics Agency Certificate of Appreciation to commend Brooks Palmer. The Defense Logistics Agency recognizes you for your selfless, faithful, and devoted support to your husband and our nation. Throughout the last 31 years of your marriage, you have made sacrifices and served your country as much as your husband. Your husband's successful career is due to your unconditional love, support, and understanding that sustained him during times of peace and war. On behalf of the Defense Logistics Agency, thank you. Signed, Michael D. Scott, Acting Director, Defense Logistics Agency. Thank you, Mrs. Palmer and Mr. Watson. Captain Dave Lockney, please join Rear Admiral Palmer. Captain Lockney will now present Rear Admiral Palmer with a custom shadow box as a gift from the members of the wardroom. Shadow boxes are born of an ancient naval tradition that is still practiced today, both in the militaries of the world and throughout civilian life. According to some accounts of naval history and tradition, when a sailor retires and is departing the ship for the last time, it is considered bad luck for the sailor's shadow to touch land before the sailor does. Therefore, the sailor's shipmates would construct a sturdy box, handcrafted of the finest material, in which to display mementos of the sailor's accomplishments, thereby symbolically creating a shadow of the sailor. The box would contain the sailor's shadow until he was safely ashore, at which time the shadow box would be given to the sailor at a presentation ceremony. Thank you, Captain Lockney.
In your speech, we got through the little security blanket. On behalf of the warden, quite
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Rear Admiral John T. Palmer, United States Navy, retired.
Good morning, Columbus, and welcome. My orders from my wife, I guess they were the last orders I received before I retired, was to be fast and forward-looking in my speech. So I'll endeavor to follow those orders. There may be a couple delays here and there. We've got some thank yous we're going to do and so forth. But first and foremost, congratulations to the newly installed commander of DLA Land and Maritime, Rear Admiral Kristen Fabry, and her entire family, Tim, Avery, Soren, and Ellery. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in a round of applause for congratulations. I have known Admiral Fabry since she was Ensign Fabry. I was an instructor at Supply Corps School as a lieutenant when she showed up, and probably 500 or 1,000 students came through, and only a handful did you see, and you said, well, this officer has something special. This officer can serve as long as their initiative and the law will allow. And one of those officers at the very top of that list was a student straight out of the Naval Academy named Kristen Fabry. And I have to tell you, she fulfilled all our expectations when we observed her as a student in Supply Corps School. We are not surprised one bit, and we are pleased and proud to see how far you've come. So again, it's wonderful to work with you. She is the perfect officer for this particular assignment. Her qualifications, her qualities, and her character are perfect, a perfect match to DLA Land and Maritime. So she will be able to add to her resume of great officer, wonderful wife, mother to 3 terrific kids, a leader of the finest team of logisticians in the form of DLA Land and Maritime. So welcome aboard. Sometimes in these speeches, unfortunately, you'll be subjected to a speech of how great I art. I hope not to do that today. I'm shooting more for how thankful I am. And so there's much to be thankful for. So in this speed of speech that my wife wanted me to do, it may go a little longer because I have much to be thankful for, but I will tell you I'm thankful for a great team. Speaking of a great team, Deputy Ken Watson, who stood in as the headquarters representative, thank you so much, Ken. We also have a combination of Mark Brown, Senior Executive in charge of acquisition, Griff Warren and Sam Payne leading on the 7th floor. I will tell you that the Fabry and Watson combination is going to be absolutely unbeatable. You know, Ken is fairly new, Colonel Sam Payne is brand new, and just when you think it can't get any better, it just does. And so we don't just reload, we reload with a higher caliber. And so it's great to work with that team, and then the entire team, as you go down to our exceptional directors, our officers, our senior officers, our OICs that are placed forward in 29 locations. It is an honor for me to complete my career working with such a fine group of professionals providing outstanding logistics support to our warfighters. I could not be more pleased and proud. I will tell you that I'm not new to DLA. This is my 3rd tour and 8 years total. So 25% of my career has been spent wearing this DLA badge. I was thrilled at the speech by Mr. Scott. I thought it was really, really good, although distanced and he had to do it in advance. I'm very pleased and thankful that he was able to do that speech. Also, the recent director, Lieutenant General Darrell Williams, he left last week on to his retirement. It was a joy working for him. He was a wonderful leader who gave us good, solid direction and then let us lead. So it was a real pleasure. But I did want to do a shout out and a thanks to General Williams, who himself is a former commander of DLA Land and Maritime. I'm thankful for 2 fantastic EAs. I had Commander Josh Harding for the first year, who's now off at WSS in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and presently Major C.J. Degnan of the Air Force, and he's skulking about here somewhere, but I will tell you, C.J. has been absolutely superb, and executive assistants have just been wonderful. Very thankful that my brother Samuel could be here with his wife Claire from Springfield, Virginia. Sam is a retired colonel in the cavalry, and this is not the first change of command he's been able to make, so I appreciate your continued support. As a matter of fact, when I took over FLC San Diego, we had a pre-reception like we did here, and Sam came in and said, I've been over at the change of command area, and this is absolutely unacceptable. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, there is not a single tank on that aircraft carrier over there where we are doing a change of command. I said, well, an aircraft carrier in San Diego Harbor is about the best we could scare up, big brother. I don't know what more you want. He says, well, just know that it's not a change of command without a tank. So I asked my brother to look about, and you will see many, many Army artifacts and conveyances, including one of your personal favorites over there, the Abrams tank. So we finally met the standard. And I hope you feel at home, and I hope this kind of recharges your hula locker. But to my brother Sam, welcome. It's great to have you here. My sister Susan couldn't make it. She was literally getting in the car to come up here. She got a phone call. She had been at an event, and they had done contact tracing, and a person had sat down with her had popped positive. She did the right thing. She and her husband Rick said, we're not gonna risk the folks up in Columbus with our appearance. So Sue did the right thing. I will tell you though. With her not being here, it's an opportune time to talk behind her back, right? Because let me tell you, Sissy's got a heck of a temper, so I'm gonna take this shot. Sue, a wonderful older sister, and as I was a toddler on up, she would come home from elementary school and try and teach me what she had learned. And so by the time I got to kindergarten and she was entering 5th grade, I knew 5th grade stuff. I remember distinctively trying to master the capital H. My sister had a paper easel there, and I tried and I tried and I tried, and she worked with me, and I finally mastered that capital H last week. So, in all seriousness, if you roll forward from me entering school with a little bit of a head start on some other kids, my sister grew up to work in the school system all her life. She's a social worker that tests kids and gets them in the right classroom, that if kids have trouble at home, she sorts that out. If kids have trouble with teachers, she helps them out there. So to my sister who's not here today, we wish you were. It's wonderful to have heard from you by phone last night, and thanks for that capital H. Thankful for longtime friends like Jim Bird. So Jimmy's here in the front row. He's a cousin of ours, part of the family of folks that have signed on to work on our farm. So Jimmy is representative of probably a dozen people who would be here if they could. And they're family friends, they're my brother's fraternity brothers, they're my sister's camp friends, they're friends of mine from school, city boys, city girls, and stuff like that. And they would get sent out to the farm in the summertime to experience my mom's cooking and her focus on education and my dad's work ethic. And believe me, he would get a day of work and then some out of you. And so those folks grew on to be permanent family members, as much brothers and sisters to me as Sam and Sue, helping out and staying with the family all the way and including to being with my dad in his troubled final years. So Jimmy, is Jimmy's mom and my mom, best friends since the early 30s when they were growing up. And so they had two boys 1 year apart. We were plopped in each other's playpens, and we grew up together. Every summer Jimmy's on the farm. And Jimmy went on to be my best man. All of these folks have worked the farm. And I would name them all, but I would miss one, and that would be sad. Went on to wonderful, wonderful careers. Jimmy himself is an attorney in Louisville, working a New York law firm. He runs the Kentucky office. He's on the super lawyer list. I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty good, right? He's also licensed in Ohio, so if any of you all, he'll have his card at the ready when we're done. But Jimmy, thank you very much, and please pass our best to Khaki and the kids when you get home. Mentors. I'm thankful for mentors. There have been hundreds. I'll call out a couple. So these are and if I miss some of them out there, then I do apologize, but I did want to acknowledge a couple that had either long-standing mentors that stayed with me the whole way, or they had tremendous effect. And so on my first ship, wartime suppo Frank Gerard taught us how to be supply corps officers. And I will tell you, from a standpoint of ethics, if you hinted that you didn't have the character or quality to be a supply corps officer, you were out the door. That's a standard we established way back in 1988, went through Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Former captain and retired Rear Admiral Chuck Safell was the CEO of that ship, and he stayed with me all the way through. I still hear from him this day. I remember being the suppo on the Harry S. Truman. We were doing a change of command. The incoming captain was a former protege of retired Admiral Safell. So I see him in the audience. I'm standing there with medals and swords, and we do the change of command. And then I'm at the very end of this extremely long receiving line to go see the new CEO and protege of retired Admiral Safell. He comes up and says, "John, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great, sir." He's just up on this ship. I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He says, "Come with me. We're going to go and see the new captain." I said, "Sir, that's what this line is for. I'm standing right here." He says, "Oh, no." Then he grabs me like a nun grabs a student who's in trouble by the back of these very chokers, right, and walks me to the front of the receiving line, past captains, admirals, dignitaries. There's somebody in there. He gets him to the side, and he says, "Is this your suppo?" To the new captain. Well, the new captain has only met me once for about a half an hour the previous weekend. In his eyes, he's looking at me like, "What did you do to make my former boss so mad that he's bringing you up here to see me right now?" And the new CEO responded. He said, "I believe that he is." He said, so he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what, I rode this kid through Desert Shield and Desert Storm. He is fantastic. You could not do better. You're in great hands. John, let's go get a beer." Grabs me by my chokers, right? And walks me to the front of the beer line. Elbows people out. So, talk about decisive leadership. I got to skip an entire receiving line and go to the front of the beer line. But his leadership and advice of Admiral Safell went far beyond that. And again, he's been wonderful. But I will tell you, the world champion, the world heavyweight champ of all mentors for me is former Chief of Supply Corps, Dan Stone, Rear Admiral retired. So Dan, he put me... I worked for him first in my first tour in DLA, and then I was his EA. Where's CJ? I was his EA when he was Chief of Supply Corps for his first year at ComNav Sup. Dan has stayed with me the whole way, to include the present tour and my past tour. I'll give you a quick vignette. When I was at U.S. Pacific Fleet, and he called me on the phone, and he'd done the job before, and he said, "John, if I had it to do all over again, I'd tell you what I'd have done. I would have established, instead of an ad hoc network, a formal network of the pinnacle logisticians across all 12 time zones." And it turned out there were about 12 Supply Corps captains, Marine Corps colonels, and so forth. So we did that. And we almost established it as a battle rhythm. And then we established also almost like a Minuteman organization of logistics in case of emergencies. Well, the emergencies came. We had a couple really bad incidents out there with a couple of our ships in the Pacific Fleet. And because we stood up this organization that could hop on the secure net in minutes instead of days or hours or days, we were able to put into place the products and services to support those stricken ships before they even got into port. And so Admiral Stone was integral in putting in my brain kind of the germ seed to be able to put that together. In this particular job, he knew that we had some challenges with some inter-service relationships and so forth. He had done this job in Richmond, and he called me up and gave me great advice. I took out the playbook. Good advice is only good if you take it. I took it, I executed it, and it served us extremely well. So to Dan Stone, his lovely wife, Donna, I have to tell you, many, many thanks. Thankful for Supply Corps officers that I've known throughout my career, many of which, probably all of which wanted to be here. Captain Mark Simler, my roommate on the USS Guam during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. He's in Texas. He and his wife, Kim, sent me a note this morning. Captain Chris Mosier, great friend to me and friend to all the Supply Corps. Never met a stranger up to Chris Mosier, and he's in Philadelphia. His wife, Mary Pat, and we were students together at Navy Supply Corps School, set every class together. We've been fast friends ever since. And then Captain John Wyndham, my ASUPO on USS Harry S. Truman, who is now a senior executive with the VA. And I have to tell you, John is the best I've ever witnessed in any capacity, anywhere, anytime. And I would love to have him here, but he can't make it. On the enlisted side, you know, those are the folks who prop us up and make us the superstars that we believe we are. And there are a couple out there that I had multiple sea tours with. Master Chief Tony DeCina on the USS George Washington and the Harry S. Truman. Craig Burgess, also on George Washington, Harry S. Truman. John Lukovic was a second-class mess specialist on the USS Boone and retired as a Warrant Officer 3, and we were on the Harry Truman as well, and while we were on there, he won the NAY Award. And then there's an old aviation storekeeper reaching back to the Guam named John Murray, retired as a chief, and he was the LPO for Ensign Palmer, and he called me just last night and wished me well. So I'm really thankful for those friends. Also, as a member of the Flag Wardroom, flag officers past and present, it is a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and one I'm proud to be a part of. The past weeks, I have received really nice communications from retired Admirals Ed Straw, Dan McCarthy, and John Ewan. And I would tell you, active Admirals, this morning, as late as this morning, Matt Ott, Kevin Jones, Jack Moreau, Ken Epps, and Doug Noble have phoned in, called in, sent me some notes. It is wonderful. Reserve Admiral Jackie McClellan and I served in U.S. Pacific Fleet, got a note from her. And here we have Pat Hayden, served with me at U.S. Pacific Fleet, as well as Kristen Fabry. He's going to put on gold shoulder boards here in a few weeks. And I will tell you, with what he knows about the threat and about logistics over there in the Pacific, if we do have to get in a big fight, the person who's going to win that fight is sitting in that chair, because he's going to bring logistics to the fight. Nobody knows it better than him. Pat, it's great to have you here. Michelle Skubik and I have been friends and office mates since, we were office mates back in 2003. I've spoken with her many times over the past weeks. I appreciate her friendship over the years and wish her well also. Brooks and I are so very pleased to be blessed with two wonderful grown children. Our oldest, Elizabeth, and our youngest, John Taylor, and he's here. And my speech is written as though he's not, and he surprised me this morning and walked in my office, and I about fell out of my chair. So, John Taylor, I'll talk about you in a minute. We'll start with Elizabeth. She is the oldest, after all. Anyway, so I have to tell you, two great kids. And if you look on the back of your program and you see the little fire engine red-headed girl and the little paper white-headed boy, they could not look any different. You know, the brown eyes and blue eyes and blonde hair and red hair and so forth. But, man, they were great for us. And they were just a joy. But I will tell you, they bore much of the burden of our many moves. They sure did. And so Elizabeth went to kindergarten 3 times. And it's not because she couldn't pass 3. Well, she started kindergarten in Florida. Then we hopped in the car, and in about 4 days, we drove to Monterey, California. Thought we were going to get in La Mesa housing right there on the base, so we put her in the elementary school right next door. She's back in kindergarten, number 2, doing her thing. Couldn't get housing there. We had to go out to Old Fort Ord, so she went to John Marshall Elementary. She had to do 3 kindergarten experiences in 1 year. Not really easy, and John Taylor, he said, hold my beer. He did 3 middle schools in 3 different states in 3 years. And so when he went to high school, having all the different, tapestry of education that he had in Maryland and Pennsylvania and Virginia, he shows up at high school and he's way ahead in some areas and he's way behind in some areas. Not easy. But John Taylor, I'll tell you, they're both wonderful kids. It gave them a toughness. It really did, that they developed, and it served them well. They're both college graduates, both have 2 kids. Elizabeth has our oldest 2 grandchildren, grandson Graham, who's 4, spitting image of his father, Matt. And their daughter, Madison, herself, a little redhead, looks just like her mom. And then John Taylor, again, not to be outdone, has 2 children of his own. He has 2 daughters, and they have a neat tradition they've introduced into our family where they honor their grandmothers with the middle name. So the first oldest daughter is Evelyn Brooks. And the Brooks is for my Brooks here. And she goes by EVB, and she just turned 1. So if you look at those pictures and you see the little girl with the pink hat, that's EVB. And then newly reported to our family, 3-week-old Margaret Louise. The Louise is for Rosie's mom, and we call her Maggie Lou. And so it's pretty clear. My son married a Southern girl with EVB and Maggie Lou, isn't it? But I will tell you that she's also named for 2 grandmothers, and her name is Rosa Ruth. And so what a match. It's great to have you here representing all the kids and grandkids. And so love you to death. Thanks so much for making the trip, flying in this morning. Brooks and I have ridden this wonderful ride for 32 years. We're in the middle of our 19th move. Recently, we had 5 moves in 6 years. And some have asked us, how did your marriage survive the Navy? And we've thought about it, and we've talked about it a great deal, and we think it's kind of twisted on edge. Our marriage didn't survive the Navy. It survived because of the Navy. Because every 2 years, 2 or 3 years, we were forced to face a strange town as our team of 4, we 4. And we hit the streets running, man. We found schools and jobs and houses and sports and church and so on. And when the kids went to college, it turned out just to be the dynamic duo, and we kept doing it. And as I mentioned, as a captain, at 5 moves in 6 years. And this really served to bond us together really, really well. Because every 2 years, it was sink or swim with just us. And I think it actually made our marriage stronger, without a doubt. She also has I will say, the credit for what you see on the back of that pamphlet and the success of our kids really goes to Brooks, as she made the happy home while I deployed and traveled. She also has a decades-long career as a registered nurse, serving most of her time in emergency rooms, but most recently up in Marion at the hospital. And we came to the conclusion in early April that she was exposed to, in the course of her job, to COVID patients every day. And talked with my boss on the phone. We came to the other conclusion that I was going to have to step aside from coming into work every day and telework so that she could complete her obligation in helping sick people up in Marion. There's no doubt it was the right decision. And I would tell you that when you think about first responders and you think about nurses and firefighters and EMTs, police officers and so forth, it could very well be that in a comprehensive view of humanity, they do more good in one shift than we will do in 10, 20, 30, yes, even 32 years of military service. So that's not thanks enough, but I do want to offer her a token of appreciation with some flowers. And CJ is going to continue his great EA work and present them. Please join me in a round of applause for a great Navy family led by my wife here. I will tell you that, and I've said before in a speech or two, that perhaps her greatest achievement was the many years that she spent rescuing me from me. I was barely tame when we met. I was a kid at the Citadel. I was a farm kid. I didn't follow direction terribly well. I didn't listen to adults terribly well. A little devil-may-care attitude, and I had no intention of staying in the Navy more than 4 years, just to pay back the scholarship. She civilized me for sure. Grounded me, kept my vision forward, gave me all the support that I could ever want. And I would not be a success without Brooks. And so, dear, I love you madly. I cannot wait to start this next chapter. So thank you. I'll take the opportunity to finish by saying I am also very thankful and proud to have been able to serve in the Armed Forces of the United States. I ask my fellow officers and enlisted, please don't take it for granted the honor it is to serve. In America, it is hard to find an occupation that is held in such high esteem. I was so very proud, 32 years on May 14th, to pin on ensign shoulder boards and be commissioned an officer in the U.S. Navy. It may surprise you, but I had the widest smile I've ever had to date as an ensign in the Supply Corps. I've been proud to be a Supply Corps officer. I've been proud to be a ship suppo at sea, fighting the fight, taking logistics to the fight. I've been very proud and thankful to be a member of this flag wardroom. Lately, I've been getting a kick. When I go out in town, I often wear, if not always, some kind of Navy hat, T-shirt, or sweatshirt. And I will get the fellow behind the counter, and he'll say, mister, did you serve in the Navy? And I always, because I'm looking old, right? I mean, that's a valid question. And I always got a kick out of saying, I still do. Well, now I have the opportunity to say, I sure did. And for Brooks and for me, there have been lots of honors and titles. As I mentioned, ensign, suppo, commander, captain, admiral, nurse. We had a flustered kid on a ship, forgot her name and called her Mrs. Suppo. That stuck for a few years, right? But all those titles and names are going to give way to our new priorities, our grandchildren. Now, we will happily forego some of the exalted titles, things like admiral and nurse and so forth. So nurse will give way to Lolly, and admiral will give way to Pop. So, I apologize in advance on behalf of Brooks. We will depart very soon after the ceremony. Our grandson Graham has a T-ball game in Ashland, Virginia tomorrow, and Lolly and Pop are going to be there. You better believe it. To that end, we wish the team here at DLA Land and Maritime every success. We hope to return to Columbus from time to time on a future visit. Until then, we bid you a fond farewell. Thank you.
Sir, thank you for those inspiring words and congratulations on your retirement. Now, in one of the oldest traditions of the United States Navy, Rear Admiral Palmer will request to go ashore one last time and will be piped ashore. You will witness a ceremony for bidding our shipmates farewell, in which Rear Admiral Palmer will be honored with a final salute. The piping over the side ceremony is rooted deeply in naval tradition. Upon completing a career in the sea service, retiring mariners step ashore through the ranks of honorary side boys to the sounds of the boatswain's pipe. The service members serving as side boys do so voluntarily to show their respect and admiration for their fellow service member. Side boys, post. Rear Admiral Palmer will now request permission to go ashore from Rear Admiral Fabry. Bosun, stand by to pipe the sides. Shipmate going ashore for the last time. Rear Admiral, United States Navy, retired, departing. DLA Land and Maritime, departing. Retire the side boys. This concludes today's ceremonies. Rear Admiral Palmer and Rear Admiral Fabry invite you to share some cake and punch to the side of the pavilion. Thank you very much for your attendance.